Folks, I have got good news and I have got bad news. Before I get into any of that, let me just welcome y'all to the channel. I'm Shannon Fox here on Devoted Patriots 2 channel. If you don't already know, if you're a new subscriber, welcome to the channel. I got a couple clips here that I reposted on X earlier today, just some things that I thought were worth sharing and worth talking about as well. A lot of times I find really interesting articles and things over on X, but today I found a couple video clips for you that I thought were definitely need to be discussed. Um, Good news and bad news, no doubt about it. If you want the news cycle and you want the real news, you're going to have to figure out that it's not all peaches and cream, lollipops and rainbows when it comes to what's going on with this political warfare in our country, this election warfare, as I call it. But as we know, we got people on both sides fighting uh, for their team. We have got the Biden administration and all our three-lettered agencies fighting to keep our borders open in order to flood our country with the illegals, which is their future voters, which they're already trying to get registered to vote, which that's what this first video is all about. But at the same time, there's always a silver lining to that storm. There's always people like Scott Pressler, which I'll bring you a clip of here directly after this Rob Smith video, a clip from Newsmax. If you don't know who Scott Pressler is, I'll give you a little backstory at the time. But he is an American hero getting out the vote, has been for years, actually helped get Abbott elected. But we'll get into that a little bit later on in the broadcast. Um, let's go ahead and jump into what Rob Smith has to say. They get people passed around the country, get funds to them, help these illegals. They also have them fill out a lot of paperwork for the charities purposes. And as a process of that, they usually fill out Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, and all those type uh, forms as well. And in there on about page 9, Medicare form, there is a voter registration form. And it does ask you if you are a citizen or not, but it doesn't tell you if you're not a citizen, you shouldn't be voting. And that's not even an issue on the form. But it's kind of strange that even here in the state of Texas, you go down to any of our welfare system uh, offices and try to get enrolled in any of their programs, the very first thing they do is they offer you a voter registration form right in the middle of the packet that they assume everybody's going to fill out from back to front. And more than that, if you go in there and you get your little form, what they do is they highlight all the pages of the information that they really, really need relevant, because a lot of people go a little too far with the questioning. And so they highlight about every third page, every second page, the information that they don't need you to duplicate several times over. And in process of that, one of the pages that they always highlight, know this for a fact, is the voter registration card. The Medicaid Medicare office is being pushed uh, and organized to get out the vote, just like a lot of other entities. And I just think people need to be aware of this. Matter of fact, I have a picture on my phone of. I'll bring you on another program. I don't have my phone within reach, but I had a picture on my phone of one of these voter registration forms that's in the welfare packages they offer here downtown. I was going to do a video about that, but they wouldn't let me film up inside that place, so I didn't do it that day. But that's another story. But let's go ahead and get into Rob Smith. This is actually a little tragic, but we got to stop it. We got to expose it, and we got to prevent it. We got to get legislation going to prevent it in the state.
All right, after inviting millions of illegals into this country over 3.5 years, the Alabama Secretary of State says he's got evidence that the Biden administration is working to now sign these people up to vote in his state. Color me shocked. Saying Biden's current federal policies mandate that anyone who comes into contact with certain state agencies be provided with voter registration information. This policy mandates that non-citizens receive information regarding registering to vote in Alabama and registration forms required to register to vote. He continued on Biden's attempt to take advantage of the crisis he created at the border by tying the hands of agencies such as Medicaid and forcing them to enact his scheme is disgraceful.
Before I go any further, I do want to say hats off to the Secretary of State of Alabama, who actually recognized this, called it out, and hopefully will be putting legislation helping trying to get Congress in the state to put legislation together to nip this in the bud.
Now, this follows a very clear pattern that we have seen since really 2020, if not longer. The Biden administration is just cultivating the grounds to make it easier to subvert our elections, to subvert this republic. They know the far left of their party, sitting in all these little NGOs, is going to do anything that they can to get power, to retain power. They know that these Marxists don't care about the rules, and that includes bending them, breaking them, to upend any election and voting integrity measures. Now they're making it very easy for illegals to register to vote if they so please, and then they're letting their radical left NGOs take care of the rest. That's how this works. Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen joins us tonight, and sir, it's good to have you on. So I want you to explain for us as clear as you can exactly what you're seeing, how this is working.
Thank you, Rob, for having me on. I really appreciate it. What we saw is we got a complaint about a relative of a deceased individual that received a voter registration form. And so that caused alarm bells, obviously, to go off in my mind. And so we started asking some questions from where this voter registration card came from, but it led us down another path to basically discover that anyone that comes in contact with certain state agencies, whether or not they receive benefits or not, receive a voter registration form in the mail. And we just find that appalling. And it's because of the National Voter Registration Act that was passed back in 1993. And, the state agencies' hands are tied because they're following federal law, but it goes right along with Biden's executive order that he signed back in 2021 that really weaponizes and mobilizes the entire federal government apparatus to be voter registration agencies. So we're just shocked at what we found, and we wanted to alert and expose this and to make sure that the public knows about it.
More than the public knows about it, we need to get some action going about it. Now, while we have this stuff going on, we have people on our side as well fighting to secure our elections. I'm talking about none other than Scott Presler. If you don't know who Scott Presler is, this young man, he's dedicated his life to getting people registered to vote. He was very active in getting Governor Abbott elected in Governor Abbott's campaign several years back. He's now moved to Pennsylvania, where he is registering people to vote in every single county. He's actually got on his Twitter account, he's actually got counters over there where he shows he is flipping Democrats registering to become Republicans in each and every county. Because him and his team is out actually knocking on doors, getting the outreach.
Any young person that chooses to vote for Joe Biden this November is voting for himself or herself to be shipped overseas to fight Joe Biden's wars. A vote for Joe Biden is a vote for war. A vote for President Trump is a vote for peace.
Absolutely. Now, if you don't know who Scott Presler is, go check him out over on Twitter. He is doing amazing work at getting people registered to vote in several states. Charlie Kirk from the Turning Point USA Foundation has awarded Scott Presler $5 million so he can put his team on getting more people out registered to vote. Just like the Democrats get people out registered to vote, Republicans need to do the same. If we had 1,000 Scott Preslers, this election would be in the bag, hands down. CNN today is tripping on the Biden numbers, talking about the polls and things that normally wouldn't matter too much, a few points here or there, but they're actually picking apart the black voter the black voter polls in such a way that they realize that Biden has not just lost some of the black vote, He's lost a huge margin of the black vote that he probably will never get back. The Democratic Party will probably never get back. And these guys just up and up admit it in a couple minute long, full blown panic.
Data reporter Harry Etten is with us. So where does the race stand among African American voters right now?
Yeah, I keep looking for this to change, to go back to a historical norm, and it simply put has not yet. So this is the margin, or Biden and Trump among black voters, compare where we were at this point in 2020, compare where we are now. You know, at this point, look at this. In 2020, Joe Biden was getting 86% of the African American vote. Look at where it is now. It's
You see, Biden has lost 16% of the black vote. Now, whether they all vote for Trump or not, some will vote for Trump, some will vote for Kennedy, most likely some may not even vote at all. But Biden has lost 15% of his black vote. That's a huge number, folks.
70%. That's a 16-point drop, John. And more than that, it's not just that Joe Biden is losing ground, it's that Donald Trump is gaining ground. You go from 7%, single digits at this point in 2020, to now 21%. And again, John, I keep looking for signs that this is going to go back to normal, and I don't see it yet in the polling. If anything, right now we're careening towards a historic performance for a Republican presidential candidate, the likes of which we have not seen in 6 decades.
And when you
Let that soak in for a minute. We got CNN admitting that we've got a GOP candidate that has got numbers that we have not seen in 6 decades when it comes to the black vote. Ouch. That's got to hurt.
dig into this number here, what is the makeup of that number?
This is where we get very interesting. So I decided to dive deeper into the crosstabs, figure out where is it that Joe Biden is truly struggling among black voters. All right, so this is black voters, Biden versus Trump margin. Look at black voters age 50 and older, and you'll see, look, Joe Biden was leading amongst this group at this point by 83 points back in 2020. Now it's 74 points. So yeah, a slight decline in that margin, but nothing out of this world. Look at black voters under the age of 50. Holy cow, folks. Holy cow. Look at this. Joe Biden was up by 80 points among this group back at this point in 2020. Look at where that margin has careened down towards. It's now just, get this, 37 points. That lead has dropped by more than half, Mr. Berman. I just never seen anything like this. I'm like speechless, because you always look at history and you go, okay, this is a historic moment. If this polling is anywhere near correct, we are looking at a historic moment right now where black voters under the age of 50, which have historically been such a big part of the Democratic coalition, are leaving it in droves.
That is a huge drop over a 4 year.
Leaving in droves. I love it, folks. I love to see a little bit of salty tears coming out of the left. I know they hate reporting this
Period, at least right now. All right, what
here? It's just a slap in the face to what is going on in this country. And I just thought everybody needed to hear this at least once.
I was born and raised in Romania. I waited 10 years in line to obtain a visa to come to the U.S. Before I came to the U.S., we had to go to the doctors, we had to go to the embassy, spent thousands of dollars on all the forms. Got to the U.S., and then I waited another 2 years for my permanent resident card. After that, I got my citizenship 5 years after, showing that I was a good citizen. I obtained my passport. I got the right to vote. I voted for the first time in 2016. It was a privilege. And I did all that so that now the Democrats can do this. What a slap in the face. I was born and raised in Romania. I waited 10 years in line to obtain a visa to come to the U.S. Before I came to the U.S.
It is a slap in the face, folks. There's no doubt about it. That's why the Biden doesn't understand why a lot of Mexicans that live here in America are not for this illegal border crossing. Let them in, pay their way, give them amnesty. Because a lot of these people have worked hard to become an American citizen. They went through the full process to become an American citizen. And it's just not fair It's kind of like the college tuition being paid for by somebody else. It's just not fair. And American people are tired of this unfair way of the way the government is treating everyday citizens versus how they're treating the illegals. The illegals have more rights and privileges than our veterans. What is wrong with this picture? And that's how the entire country is starting to feel about this. I think as we get closer to the election, even with all the rhetoric and the campaigning and the mudslinging and everything that goes on, it'll all come down to a couple of things. And one of the major things will be, besides the economy, will be our security. And that starts with helping borders. And we all know how Biden's plan to close the borders versus Trump's plan to close the borders is actually going to play out. Like, subscribe, and share, Devoted Patriots. And if you haven't already register to vote, and while you're at it, go grab your neighbor by there and get them registered to vote as well. We got to do all we can to save our country, folks. Even with all these illegals going to be voting in our elections, we've got to swamp them. We got to make it too big to rig. That's all I got for you. Everybody have a great day. Over and out.